This is a special interview on a special program from a special TV talking about CBA TV. My name is Ajara Ahmed Tijani. On the program today we're lucky to have a big fish. And when I mention big fish, of course, my guest on the program today, without letting the cat out of the bag, is the Director, Diaspora Affairs, and he's a Ghanaian. So sit back, relax, and follow the program. There's a lot for you to learn and gain from this conversation. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, receive with me on set Akwasi A. Ababio. It's a pleasure having you on show.
Hi, it's a pleasure meeting you.
I hope I got the name right?
Yes, as best as you can. I'm aware that...
How am I actually supposed to pronounce it?
It's Akwasi A. Ababio.
Okay. Now, Ababio, can we meet?
Yes. As you rightly said, I'm the Director of the Diaspora at the Office of the President in Ghana. And I've been doing this throughout the first term of His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo. He first appointed me right away when he got the position. He became the president. He was voted for as the president. And in the course of his electioneering campaign, he had promised that he was going to elevate the diaspora to the highest table of governance, which is to be at the office of the president. And that is exactly what he did when he appointed me to join him and his team at the office of the president. And within that few years that we have been in office, we have been trying hard to see how we can put together the diaspora engagement policy and engage the diaspora community, who we know are of big assets to the country. So the homeland relationship between Ghana and the diaspora has been ongoing for a while, and it is our intention to deepen it. And as a result, we have undertaken a number of projects, a number of high-profile activities, the number one of which is the year of return. That's, is a bit of a success as far as everything is concerned, diaspora mobilization.
I was just about to ask you the journey so far since appointment. You mentioned Afro 10. Okay.
The year of return. The year of return was essentially a program that the president went to Washington, D.C. to announce to the rest of the world that Ghana had declared 2019 as the year of return. And it was principally aimed at the African historical diasporian who had been sold through slavery. We were quite aware of the fact that a whole lot of the slaves who were taken out to the plantations had gone through the ports and that they had established in Ghana. So when the president going through that port, there was a door that signified a door of no return. So once you go through that door, you were never going to return to Africa. So the symbolic nature of the year of return was to signify to the rest of the world and to African American and the diasporian community in the Caribbean and the African descendants that they had the opportunity to return back to Africa.
Well, when we talk about diaspora, Africans in diaspora, it is quite primitive, and we could trace it back to the colonial era and the slave trade, period. But let's begin to look at the status of diaspora today. Africans in diaspora, they are scattered around the globe. Some are in Asia, some are in Europe, some are, within Africa. Now, what would you say is the status of, vis-a-vis, each country's, the status of these Africans in diaspora?
I think I'm glad that the phenomenon of diaspora mobilization has received worldwide attention, that every country is trying as best as possible to mobilize its community in the diaspora. So Ghana
is no exception. We are trying as much as possible to mobilize our Ghanaian diaspora community all over the world, and most importantly, the big diaspora that we have in Nigeria, for instance, which is about 1 million people. And then all of us scattered in the Western world, in the UK, in the US, in Germany, in Holland, all over the place. And then recently, all over in the Far East, in China, and in Japan, and in India. There's all these diaspora community who we can relate to that are of potential to us. And therefore, we need to make sure that we can relate to them. We can, harness their potential. So that is going on, and we know that other African countries, just like Nigeria, you have your diaspora commission, just like what they have here. Yes, Abike. Yes, exactly. And that's like, what is happening right here in Somaliland, where they are trying to also mobilize their diaspora community, and they need them moral support, and we are here to offer. That's why I'm here right now.
I was just about to ask you, zeroing this conversation to the specific. You are here in Hargeisa. I mean, what's the catch?
The reason I'm here is to support my brothers here who are also trying to reach out to their diaspora community. And then on this occasion of this get together, we also find it appropriate that I would come and join in the conversation. There's the opportunity to learn from them how they are doing, whatever they are doing, and to also impact on what we have done to them, to make sure that we as a team are working together eventually to realize and to harness that diaspora, that continental African diaspora that is out there, that we know is of value, that we know has got the expertise, that we know have got the network, that we know have got the capital to come back and build Africa for us. So collectively, we are working together to make sure that the African diaspora is harnessed, is brought to bear on our development efforts.
Okay, now this is Somaliland, and for the want of time right now, what are the tips, tapping from your experience, from Ghana, that you can share, the experience that you can share with Somaliland Ministry of Foreign Affairs, especially the Department of Diaspora, in bridging the gap between the diaspora and their grassroots?
I think I've been speaking to the director, Saad Mohammed, and we've been comparing notes and sharing ideas already. I think that connection that we have is, I believe, of fundamental interest in that we can build up on whatever there is to do. Sharing of ideas can go as high as that. And some of the conversations, some of the discussions that we've had relates to how we can use different aspects to really whip up the enthusiasm of the homeland in the diaspora community. For instance, the experience that we have in Ghana is that we can even use sports, we can use our culture, we can use our developments in the economic areas to all make the country, the homeland, attractive to the diaspora community, and that becomes a driving force for them to relate to us. I think nobody wants to be associated with failure. We have to take charge of our narration, the positive narration from Africa, from our countries. When we put these stories out there, we know the diaspora community would want to relate to us. It is important that we get our stuff right in Africa. We get to organize ourselves correctly. That is how people in the diaspora would be inclined to relate, that they would want to share in the success. They would want to be part of the success story. So all in all, I think we have to do things right in the homeland, and then the rest will be...
How do you mean doing things right from home? Is it creating an enabling environment?
Creating an enabling environment, making sure that they would be able to come home when they want to and feel like they have never left where they are. So that in the digitization that is going on in the world, for instance, we need to be able to keep up with that sort of digitization. We need to improve on our economic outlook. We need to do so many things that will make it not so difficult for people when they relate to us, when they come back and live with us, to feel that difference. Having left someplace.
Now, speaking of difference, one of the challenges faced by diaspora, especially those either repatriated or expatriates, or maybe by whatever means they're back home, is the fact that they find it a little bit difficult to be reintegrated into the system. What advice do you give to Somaliland, to be specific, and African leaders, in creating a program, to synergize that difference that you mentioned, bringing them back into the society?
Yeah, as far as integration of the diaspora when they have come back is concerned, there are a whole lot of things that needs to be done. There is the return, the reintegration, and the readmission, programs that are well known, some of which are being run already by established agencies that need the support of government and of support of the community as whole to make these things, viable for these people to be able to relate back when they come. I know specifically when some professionals have tried to relocate back to Africa, how they have struggled to get back into the profession. One, because of perhaps, the communities are not ready for their, coming back, and are not making it easier for them to, work back home. These are rules and regulations that perhaps are restrictive and does not permit them to easily come back to professions that they have left. These are all things that we need to look at. A typical example for one is that in the case of the medical doctors, when they want to come, so many restrictions are put in their way that they haven't registered to be practicing in Africa here. We need to see how we can use their recognition of their practice elsewhere to be recognized as being, pertinent, and therefore enabling them to work as, whatever they are. That's just one example. Of course, I know how lately almost every country is using its talent out there. So, for instance, Nigerians are making sure that the footballers who can play football can come back and play for the national team. Ghana is using it. Everyone should be taking advantage.
Everyone made the recent development, especially in the Africa's populous nation, Nigeria, is the fact that some doctors are leaving the country, for
greener
Saudi
pastures.
Arabia.
I think that is often the case of so many people who are leaving, that they think they are living for greener pastures, and they get there and they realize that it's not as green as they think it is. Or even when they find the green, they will soon realize that there is something extra that
there's no place like home.
Exactly,
there's no place like home
to come back to. So yes, I suppose, we are not saying that the fact that we want people, diasporans, to relate and to come back to us, therefore people shouldn't travel. No, travel is a fundamental human right that people should feel free to exercise. What we are saying is that wherever you go, wherever you find yourself, you should know where you have come from, and that you should be able to relate back to wherever you. So I believe when they have gone, the remittances that they send home is something that we all enjoy. Governments are taking advantage of all the time. It's improving our balance of payment, and foreign exchange positions very so much. So yes, governments are taking advantage of this. We need to perhaps even be involved in getting it more structured so that it becomes beneficial. Just like the Filipinos are doing with their, people that they send out there to have a well laid out program that benefits not just the person going, the country, to look after some of the interests that they would have left behind. If it's some development projects that they have to do back home, how we can even be, party to that and make sure that they are guaranteed for it to work the way they want it to work. There's so much that we can do to intervene to make these programs, beneficial to ourselves, to the homeland, and to the, diasporians themselves.
Finally, your advice for governments or business owners, still on the issue of reintegration. I just wanted to stress it for stressing's sake, the equal opportunity for those that have come back home with a lot of skills, talents, and experience, who may want to join one business or one job or the other. There's this cry. Of course, if I have to relate the experience of one of the Somalanders that came back, saying that there's this kind of favoritism of those people that grow from home over those that came from abroad. So in terms of equal opportunity, what advice do you have for leaders?
I think that is a big challenge. Definitely, that is how they have tried to make it difficult for people who have come back here to integrate. I believe there is definite need for a major program of conscientization to sensitize the public as to how the overall benefit is something that we should be encouraging, to make sure that these people can come home and join us, and that it is not like people have left when they had been, like they had run away from the difficult times and they are coming back, and therefore they need to be given that kind of treatment. It is a complementary thing that people are coming back to provide. The essential things that people here are doing needs to be complemented. The exposure that people have taken outside needs to be brought home, and very often there is the opportunity to learn from skill transfers. So if you are hostile to people who have come and you don't try to assimilate and benefit from their exposure, I believe you stand at a loss, and therefore we should be looking at addressing all that. But there needs to be formalized programs, to enable us to address these issues. Some bit of orientation for those who are coming to manage their expectation is very much in order, so that they don't come with the all too know attitude of I know it all, which makes it difficult for them to work with people back home here. Exactly. So there's a lot that needs to be done on both sides to really get the team harmonized. So
thank you so very much.
You're welcome.
For your time, for sharing this quality tips on how things should work, especially for the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Somaliland. Thank you once again for
it's a pleasure.
For sharing your time. Over a few minutes now, we've been interacting with the director, executive director, Diaspora Affairs, Ghana, the president of Akwasi A. Ababio. Sorry.
Thank you. Yeah.
Saying it the way I say it.
I think you got it.
Actually,
it's right.
While discussing with you, I actually feel at home.
Yeah.
Like I'm home already.
That's what it is. We should all be at home. You are right on the soil of Africa.
Thank you so very much.
Yes. Thank you.
All right. So
you're welcome.
next time we come away, watching CBA. My name is Mr. Tijani.